Yo, how is it a red flag because I ain't got no kids? That's what this little heifer told me recently.
The year is
that more red flag than a bunch of
1995
men?
and I'm 14 years old. I'm just starting high school.
95, what you, 50?
But already I'm a member of the Mount Olive Missionary Baptist Church in Del Paso Heights. And my grandmother and my mother are letting me know that I gotta be a man. And I've always knew that. My granddad always told me that.
Does for you, though.
And many of you black men can relate. There was a lot of community pressure for you to go to college and go do something and come back and build your community. But also there was the pressure of being a young man that would marry a woman from your community. And also learning how to be nice to a lady. If you walk on the sidewalk, she walks on the inside, you walk on the
that used to be the
outside.
proving ground.
Because you had to
standard.
impress the community and be respected that you made it.
Right.
And that being from the ghetto didn't define you.
It stabilized.
You
us at
did the
levels
right
of
thing
people,
and made the community look good. And that's how a lot of black men came up during that time until something changed. In generations before me, such as the baby boomers, the silent generation, and the great generation, as a black man, there was a lot of conformity. You had so much.
So it's like World War I generation, right? Duty, discipline, and sacrifice. That's when you would give your life for your country. And happily do it too. Sign me up for the war. You know, they had the songs and all that. Building a better future, right? I think the world was more level at that time. It was no pursuit for anything other than family. Silent generation, modest, hardworking, value stability, loyalty, and conformity, focus on security and family. But I think that was one of the generations where things were attainable. Like you could easily get a house. You could easily start a family. You could easily find a single person, a single woman, and create and build and not worry about all that. Think about the generations before when cheating wasn't a normality. Yeah, it's been a minute since that's been a thing, right? It's been a long time since I heard somebody say, "Can't nobody my bitch." Yeah, I'm just saying though, like, you know, I think what's changed was this next generation, right? Generation X, the technology and independence. I think this is around the time of the Civil War. This is around the time that, you know, culture became less family oriented and more about building yourself up. Resourceful, self-reliant, and skeptical. Work-life balance, adaptability, and then millennials. From here on, this is when the world became almost too accessible. Digital natives, connected world. You can connect with anyone from anywhere. Diverse, open-minded. Value, experience, purpose, and innovation. I think experience and purpose and innovation has been the shit since then, right? Experiences. Y'all remember when entering into a stock could actually change your life? Now that's the only way you can stabilize your life. By hopping on the bandwagon, hopping in the wheel, hopping on the hamster wheel is the only way that you can hit that next level in this generation. And that's not a thing that any of the past generations can understand. So their advice is almost like it doesn't work anymore. It doesn't change that the dynamic is respectable. My grandparents been together for 60 years, but it's hard to tell them like that doesn't really exist as much as often. It's how rare is it to find someone who isn't impressed by other people, who isn't into the worldly things, right? It makes you have to become more worldly to maintain yourself, or especially to build yourself.
As a black man, there was a lot of conformity. You had so much stacked against you to do very well. And if you wanted to be respected in black America, one of the great things you needed to do was become married. Being married meant that you were more serious as a candidate for employment. And also you were supposed to be a provider and have kids. Don't forget the 2-car garage and the 3-bedroom house.
He's right, you know.
But the 2000s brought about a different change.
Definitely.
And so did the 2010s. In the 2020s, it created a new, different type of black man.
Okay.
A black man that wasn't so concerned about marriage, wasn't concerned about how the community felt about him.
Yeah, what's going on?
But the issue is he still kept having all of this access to the economy. And in many ways, he had more access than before with less obligation or ties to the community. And when you see a black man like that today, he might sound like this.
I don't know. I feel like everybody in my family had kids when they was under 22. So it'd be like,
I ain't never wanted to be that. And I'm the
Ain't they
most
from the
successful
South?
out of my family, so it'd
Exactly.
be like, did I do the right thing or?
That is popular streamer Ben the Don. He's 34 years old. I believe he's
34.
from the Memphis area, and
Memphis,
he's
the South.
super rich.
It's either you
And
family or you
despite
be
having
out there.
all
literally.
of this money and opportunity, a lot of people are pressuring him to have kids.
But why?
He's addressed this multiple
You get
times
anything you
on
want now.
multiple streams, but it seems like he's had enough.
Past 30 it happens. That age with no kids is crazy work. How is that crazy? I don't
More
want
successful
kids
than
right
the
now.
people around you, though.
I'm getting
You
rich.
don't know nobody that's successful. Probably because they all started kids at
Y'all
20.
niggas be poor as having kids.
That's a good point.
I know people want to say the reason why he
Most people
feels
can't believe
like
he is
this
this rich.
is because of those black women. And no, it's much bigger than that. Just because a man doesn't want kids, it's not because a man has a problem with black women or black women are not feminine enough. It's bigger than that. It's actually due to this particular sociological phenomenon called individualization.
That's the primary shit.
In the
Prioritize
1980s,
yourself
German
over others.
sociologist
We're not
Ulrich
willing to
Beck
sacrifice
really
ourselves for
defined this
family
theory,
structure.
and he stated that individualization is a social process in which people
Career, travel,
build their
education,
identity,
relationships,
lifestyles, and relationships around their personal choices rather than fixed group expectations or traditional roles. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. In the 60s, 70s, and 80s, it was group first dynamic thinking.
See,
the black community had to
that's
be
because
like
we
that
had to.
because the civil rights in the
Because-
60s.
Yeah, because if you ain't a family man and people could lie on you and people can completely tarnish your name, to be honest with you, back then, imagine me right now trying to talk to y'all like MLK looking like a nigga. That would be a black man that just got hung. I love you, Grandma. I'm just letting you know, like, back then, it was almost a necessity to build a family, to be socially accepted. You couldn't be an activist. You couldn't talk for a demographic of people unless you had these things in place. It wasn't no moving outside of your family structure because you couldn't move outside of your culture. You couldn't even know if you can go to certain places without your people. So how are you going to be yourself? How are you going to travel the world by yourself? How are you going to create your own opportunities singularly in a culture where you couldn't even operate singular? I think that kept the family dynamic together. I think back then, black marriage rates was what, 80, 90%? You had to find a partner and do right by them. I think that once we crossed that threshold, the not only politically, entertainment wise, there was a push to, they'll give us the freedom, but they broke us. Okay, you get jobs and freedom. How about we give you crack? How about instead of nice, soulful Luther Vandross, we give these young women sexy red? Now, I fuck with sexy red. Look at my hair. I'm from the churches. Pop it. I'm just letting you know that that dynamic is exactly what has derailed our community a little. What do you think?
Still face some level of systemic racism as systemic prejudice against the black community lowered in those years. What we started to see at that particular level was the kind of rise of feminism and black women doing very well,
Going
and then
against
people
ourselves.
catering to women
Free our
over
sisters,
time.
free ourselves. We
And
go
what
against
happened
ourselves
was
now.
black men were kind of being left behind as it was, which made this process very easy because black women had individualization themselves. So eventually black men caught on to this. And there was no other group of men that it
Derailed our
benefited more
community.
than black men. They were already sort of being castigated by the black community and the black church anyway.
Exactly.
So there was nothing to be loyal to. Why follow traditions? Why follow
I'm not
family
supposed to stand on that?
expectations? Why conform to a group that largely
Why would
you
I do
feel
that?
distant from anyway?
Why would I voluntarily cuck my life to be accepted by unappreciative people? And that's the dynamic of the black man that most people won't express. And the only reason I'm able to express this to y'all is because I've curated a platform. And this guy has an even larger platform where he's explaining how hundreds of thousands, millions of black men feel. Not even just black men, millions of men feel this dynamic shifting. Have y'all gone online and looked at social media comments? A lot of it is not real, but it completely changes the thought process and dynamic that all people are having. I think it's an important shit that we don't take into account until it's too late. And you run into a man who's 40 and you go like, man, you don't want no kids, bro?
Then in the 2000s, the new economy emerged of e-commerce, eBay.
Right. And then
what you're seeing in the
accessibility
2010s
of money
and
changed as well.
2020s,
Remember when the house was
content
50K?
creation money.
Me neither. It was
the rise of other
500,000
groups
when I
like
came
the
in the world.
Passport Bros. And so what it gave is the opportunity for black men to walk their own road, which they were already doing anyway.
Right.
And so that's what they started to do. They started prioritizing themselves more than the group.
Huh?
Let me give you an example.
I don't want no damn kids.
A lot. See, 30,
Raising
40, and
kids
50, I
is
can't
hard,
tell.
especially nowadays, bro.
Okay.
Right now, I have two things: freedom and peace. And I ain't trading them for nothing in the world.
Now, this is a young man. 40 years ago,
I be
you
seeing my
would
homie
never hear a guy talk
stressing
like
over
this
his BM.
because
You only 20,
he
bro.
should be getting married
Already?
and he should be having kids. But that's not what he's talking about.
I ain't got to worry about going to nobody's school. I ain't got to worry about taking nobody to the doctor. I can spend my money.
And the older generation would call it selfish.
However, I want to do.
That's exactly what the old
Because
folks would
he's
call it.
worried about himself. And this is exactly what Ben the Don is trying to do.
Exactly.
He's worried about himself.
I mean, he ain't
I don't
trying to
think
do
this
it.
has
He did
as
it.
much to do with child support or dealing with black women or dealing
even
with
meet
any
people
of
that's
those
successful in
things
this life.
as it does to
He
his
did it.
own personal benefit. And even though it's his
But if he would have followed the blueprint of his family dynamic that told him settle down, have a kid at 22, and start a family and sacrifice for this woman who may or may not leave you and ruin your life in the future, and just live a nice stable life in Memphis, do you think that he would have a ghost, a phantom, and a Urus by himself on some player shit? Probably not. But everyone goes against people who start out this way. The younger they are, man, what you want to do that for, man? Why you don't just settle? Man, you know how many people ask me, when am I getting married? I said, man, fuck all that shit. Bruh, do I look like I'm finna get married now? I died, my shit. Do I look, you think it's gonna, bro, we're not doing all of that, bro. What if I want to see the world? What if I want to provide experiences? What if I want to experience owning these things? Oh, that's not for you, bro. Just go ahead, like, chill out, bro. Just go ahead, chill, bro. Just go ahead, settle down, get your family, bro. That's your life, bro. It's mine. That's probably, and so do y'all think that by him making that decision, that's what led to this, or is like he was gonna get it regardless? I want to know y'all thoughts, seriously.
own personal benefit, you will always have guys saying stuff like this.
We live in such a weird culture where
What's
people
up,
are so selfish. They don't want kids. Maybe one. When I moved to California, it's like
California's
I
way
don't
more
have
free
kids.
spirit. Y'all know I'm
It's
from
like a
LA
red
and
flag.
Chicago.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You trying to be cool at 50?
I mean, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Cool at 50. Look, bro. Don't disrespect my pops, bro. Not disrespect my OG, bro. My OG got what? Don't play with my OG, bro. All right, but this is the difference, right? People in California and most people, especially Midwest, Southern people, less the East Coast, but Midwest and the South people are so much stable, blue collar, so much hardworking, dynamic of people that they haven't seen the whole world. You ain't been to 15 countries and a bunch of states and see how they treat you in all of these places. You're not like, that's not your life story. And you, at first, before we had these, you couldn't experience people with these life stories. So it's like the West Coast, when I'm in LA, you meet so many people who are free spirited, but also more successful than you've ever seen in your life. So I'm actually curious where this guy's from, because he sounds very judgmental, but it's because the value system he came up with is entirely different than other places. It's much more of a mandatory thing to be selfless and sacrifice yourself in these cultures in comparison to a more free spirited, more open place like California. You understand what I'm saying?
A bar at 50?
You're supposed to get married, right? Well, So what are your options if you decide to do what Ben Dadon is trying to do?
Right.
Number one, provider expectations become optional.
Right, I could choose.
That means,
You don't
do
deserve to be
I
provided
want
for.
to be a father?
I'm wrong for
Do
saying
I
that.
want to be a husband? And to be honest, this is actually better, not only for black men, but for black women themselves if they decide to go that route.
I think that's
Because
why
a
many
man
of our
who's
people are
deciding
bitter,
to
though.
become a father really wants to do it and wants to be good at it.
Right.
Nobody wants to feel that I need to get married or I have to have kids in order for society to accept me or to think that I'm serious. Now there's no pressure to do that. For example, I'm 45. I've never been married. I do want to be married one day.
45? God
I do
damn,
want to
this
have
guy's
kids one day,
ancient.
but it's not something that's mandatory. It is optional. And guess what? That wouldn't be the case in the 80s or the 70s in
Facts.
order for me to do very well. It would look weird if I didn't do it, but it is optional. It gives me time to find the best woman for me, and it gives me the
That's
leverage and
understandable.
other black men the leverage. Number two,
You know,
marriage
these
becomes a
joints gonna be
choice.
swimming
It
for a
is
minute.
not a requirement. You're not going to be able to shame any black man anymore because he doesn't want to get married. It is largely a choice. And if he wants to get married, he will do so because it benefits him. 3, geography makes it
travel around.
easier than before.
You can
This was something that the other generation
versus saying this is what I have to settle for. You can say, what do I want? Instead of how are they going to think about me? How is this going to you could say, what do I want? How do I want my life? You could call that selfish, or you could call that a choice. You know, the mobility. Maybe I don't want to live here. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm young, y'all. I done lived in 6 states already. So it's like, okay, this dynamic is all right, but maybe this isn't it. This dynamic, okay, I want to live here. I want to make this my home base. I want to be able to meet someone from that place and bring them here. These are options that you allow yourself to have if you give yourself time. And people who didn't give themselves time will always judge you for that, but that's why our life experience is individual, right?
did not enjoy. And I'm talking about the great generation, the silent generation,
Right.
or even some of the baby boomers. You typically got married and worked where you lived,
whole life.
and that was your world.
The
But
one day
the
you can
internet
experience this.
changed all of that. So many
Yes.
people live now in big cities like Atlanta, New York, Houston, Detroit.
Talking about
Some
different
people
area
like
codes
myself
having them.
live in Africa. Some people
Talking
live
about
in
in
Thailand.
different area
Some people
codes.
live in Latin America.
Area
And now with the
codes, yeah.
economy being so
Talking about, have
open,
you seen
I
the
have
you
all
know how
those
they treat you in the
opportunities,
DR,
or
King.
you have those
You know how they
opportunities.
treat you in
And
Colombia,
then number
bro.
4, race
Not me, I'm just
doesn't
letting you know.
define me all the time. Like, I am black and I'm a black American, and just like you are black and black American, but that doesn't mean I'm tied to the AME Church, or
Right.
I'm tied to Church of God in Christ,
You can be
or I'm
yourself,
tied
man.
to National Baptist or Southern Baptist. I'm not looking for the approval of the pastor anymore. I'm not looking for the approval of the church mothers anymore.
Exactly.
That's what happened in the 70s and the 80s. Those days are gone.
Long gone.
And then also 5, I can have
can change who
identity
you are.
changes if I like. So many people do it. They change careers.
When you lock
they do
yourself
different
in for
things.
something,
It's
that's what
very
you have to be.
hard to do that if you are married or if you
Forever.
have kids.
Or it
And
takes a
the
lot to
other thing
reinvent.
is, a lot of black men are just living for themselves. They're doing the
Facts.
same things that many black women are doing, which is prioritizing their own individuality. Now, the issue becomes when men do that. And it is very dangerous in society when men do take that route. But so many black men are going this way. And there are some downsides to consider for this, right? Because not everything is perfect. There are no solutions, even trades off, right? So,
Right.
you know, you are at a greater risk of isolation. And I feel that all the time. Like, I miss being home. I miss being in Black America. A lot of brothers are away from their family, right?
Exactly.
You do lose a part of the community support. And I'm a living witness of that. That's
Believe you
something
feel
that
that
you
way
do
until
give
you
up.
acquire the things
And
you're
then
pursuing.
with everybody kind of thinking for themselves and living for themselves, then that is kind of dangerous. And when you look at other groups, such as like, you know, the Indians or Filipinos or Ethiopians or Eritreans or Somalis, you know, you kind of can see the togetherness of certain people, and you do kind of miss that. But overall, this is what individualization is doing in this particular generation. And again, if there's just no value, people are going to live for themselves. We could talk about child support. We could talk about black women. We could talk about black men. We could talk about baby mamas.
And he may say this isn't a big deal, but I think that's one of the major factors. I think by being able to go online and see the dynamics that people have, whether it's divorces, whether it's cheating, Black culture has a history of traumatic experience, right? We already talked about the Civil War and civil rights, and we talked about, man, the type of traumas you have with the police, domestic issues, being disrespected within your culture. We take these as normalities, or we say that's never happened to you, but it's like that's an experience that you feel in your soul, and you understand that can be a possibility. And most people don't want you to accept that the things that you've seen can be a possibility for yourself. I think that's being slightly naive, but I think it's also a very important factor that has changed it. By being able to continuously see things like this, it changes the way that you identify. It changes the way that you want to interact with the world in itself. And it can be a positive or a negative, but it's awareness. And the world was better when we, as people, were unaware, when there was only a select few of people who had awareness. Now everybody can see everything. I think it's valuable to get to this point in the world, but it's changed everything. Do you agree?
Our baby daddies. But largely for me, none of that is really important. What's more
I mean, you moved
important
to
is
Africa,
that
so it gotta be
people
important.
just want the opportunities as much as possible to live and enjoy their life. And those
Right.
guys who decide that they're going to go ahead and do that, they will do it once they get ready. Not every man wants to give up their freedom and trade it in for more responsibility.
You
So
mad at me
guys,
for?
what do you think? It's your boy O'Shea Dude.
What you mad at me for? This is a dope video. Shout out to him. I'm gonna make some money. Make sure y'all like, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think. I think it was some important points in this video. I think we'll do some more content like this. And I've been trying to identify with my people. They told me that but I didn't think my voice could be as imperative until I started looking like this. Ski. So let me know what y'all think about this video. I'll see y'all in the next one.